today is February 19th, 2024, and we are here at Black Rican Vegan pop-up at La Fonda Restaurant. The time is now 2:19 p.m. We have the pleasure of interviewing Chef, I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right, Lyana, okay, who is sharing her art of cooking traditional dishes from her cultures as a vegan chef with us. Here in the Dr. Beverly J. Robinson Community Folk Culture Program, we learn how to identify and document tradition bearers in our community, such as Chef Lyana, so we can preserve our cultures. We also learn that folklore is a combination of two words, folk meaning people and lore meaning knowledge, meaning that folklore is the special knowledge of the people that is passed down from generation to generation and that holds groups and communities together. So first we wanted to ask you a little bit more, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get started.
Yeah, so Chef Lyana Blount, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. Half Black, half Puerto Rican, and I'm vegan, so that's how the business name came about. I write a cookbook, I do food service all around New York City, so we do pop-ups. I specialize in soul food and Puerto Rican cuisine with a vegan twist, and we're well known for our nice creations, which we do like a fusion of like soul food and Puerto Rican food, but with a vegan twist, and you don't see that often. So I'm really happy to have that successful in my community.
Thank you. And again, I'm Niara.
And my name is Clarice.
Nice to meet you.
So my first question for you is, who inspired you to cook?
My mom and my uncle inspired me to cook. I was just always curious about it as a young girl, and I love food. So while they was in the kitchen, I was over their shoulder seeing what they was making and asking if I could help. And my mom, she would host like all the dinners and events at our apartment. So I was just so used to being around food and seeing how people gather over food and celebrate everything. And I think that's what grew my passion for food.
So what made you decide to start cooking these types of food? So you said fusion of Puerto Rican, Southern, different cuisines. So what made you?
So it's just food that I grew up eating. It wasn't until I went vegan that I veganized all the traditional meals that I was, used to eating. But it was food that I grew up in the household with. So my dad was Black and he's from the South, so he would eat his neck bones, lasagna, black eyed peas, and white rice. And then my mom, she would have like nadules, chuletas, pernil, all that good stuff. So I was used to having both items in the household, and that's kind of just what inspired Black Rican Vegan.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my next question is, what is your favorite traditional dish that you would like to cook from your culture?
I like to cook so many things. I'll say if I have to pick one, I'm gonna shout out the pernil that I made vegan. I call it pernil because it's beef for vegan. But we use jackfruit to remake it, and that's one of the first dishes that I did and I shared on my social media that intrigued a lot of people, and people wanted to try it so much that I put out the first menu in April 6, 2020, and then we've been putting out menus since. So that's like one of the plates that kind of blew up Black Rican Vegan.
So are there any, usually when we're cooking, we smell like certain ingredients and like different senses. So are there any particular smells that remind you of your earlier memories of cooking?
Yeah, I love that question. I still smell it to this day. So most of my recipes is very sofrito based. That's like the root of most of the recipes that I make. So you have smells like garlic, oil, onion, bell peppers, all those aromatics. So every time I smell stuff like that, cilantro, culantro, I'm immediately brought back to home.
Was it difficult to decide what recipes to include in your cookbook? Because earlier we were reading your cookbook. It was very interesting.
I think when they told me you had to write 60 recipes, I was like, all right, I gotta try to pick the best recipes for this book. So it was kind of hard to decipher which ones I'm gonna put and which ones I'm gonna leave out. But it wasn't too hard. I think it was just about sitting down and having to write out the recipes, that was a little intimidating because I like to cook, and you know, my ancestors, they be guiding my hands. I don't really use measurements. Now I do, but to sit down and write out recipes that you're so accustomed making and you don't really have a real recipe for, that was interesting. But I'm happy I have this now, so like generations after me can have recipes to, you know, have in their home and remake the food.
What is the best part about cooking personally for you?
To me, cooking is kind of therapeutic. It's like an escape for a moment, and the best part, I think, is the reactions from the people that I make the food for. If they love the food and, you know, they want to come back and eat it, I think that's like the most exciting part. Even growing up, I would cook stuff for my friends and my family. When I started cooking vegan for my family, and they couldn't believe that the food I was making was vegan. So every time I see that reaction, I think it makes me proud.
Can you name one dish you can say you've mastered?
Mastered? I mean, a few. I already brought up the penne, but I'll say the flancocho because that took me 5 attempts to perfect. So I'll say the flancocho.
Why do you think it's important to maintain your food traditions?
Because it's a part of me. It's who I am. It's something that's going to continue to be passed down to, you know, my kids and my kids' kids. And I think just knowing where you're from and knowing your roots and why you're eating certain meals and the importance of it, I think it's just super important to know and to continue to have and share. And also, food is kind of like a gateway to for other people to know you. Everyone's culture has like something specific, and when you try someone's food, you're kind of, you know, there's an open into their door into their life. So they open the door into their, you know, their life, and it's a part of you. I think it's just important.
So my next question is, have you had any trouble adjusting authentic dishes from your culture to fit the vegetarian diet?
Not really. I think I just have like a keen sense of what alternatives I want to use for certain dishes, so it wasn't too hard. It comes to me naturally. Yeah, for the most part, not really.
Would you ever consider branching out to other cultures, you know, to explore adjusting other cuisines to fit the veganism diet?
Well, when I'm home, I cook. Well, I love Asian flavors, Caribbean flavors. Yesterday, I just had like pineapple fried rice. That was really good. I'll do like, even in my cookbook, I have like a pineapple fried rice recipe. I have like a Dominican mambu. So, you know, I grew up in New York City, where it's a melting pot, and you're exposed to so many diverse cultures and so many different people, and I have friends from all different backgrounds that, you know, I got to try a lot of different cuisines, and if I'm inspired, maybe I'll add it to the menu, or maybe I'll just make a recipe at home. But I think just being from New York, I have that, you know, opportunity to play with like different flavors and different cuisines.
So what is the next step or ultimate goal for your business?
Well, I'm currently working on my second cookbook, and we're here at La Fonda until we save up for our own spot. So what year that's gonna happen, I'm not too sure, but I'm letting God guide my steps.
So what was your goal when you opened this restaurant?
But this is not my restaurant.
Oh,
This is
okay.
La Fonda. So we have like a residency here, so we'll be here to serve our food. We do that because the demand for our food is always high, so we want people to have access to the food where we're not like in Brooklyn or in a different state doing a pop-up. And you mentioned, what was the question again? You had mentioned something else.
Your goal in the beginning.
Oh, well, I didn't have a real goal. This was honestly a hobby. I was working on a different business before I started Black Rican Vegan. I was doing meal prep. Black Rican Vegan was a hobby that I started during the pandemic, and the demand grew so much that it became a business. So that's why I'm just kind of cruising along and see what the people want, and then if we get funding or if we have the opportunities to do different things with Black Rican Vegan, we do it.
Well, does anybody else have any other questions that they want to ask Chef Lyana before we end up the outro?
Is there any advice that you'd like to give for anyone trying to start a business like yours?
Like mine, I would say to practice a lot at home, read some books, go on YouTube, get inspired, and if you feel like you're ready to start with your friends and family first. That's what I used to do. I used to post menus on Facebook or Instagram, and you know, my family and friends would like to try it. If I got a thumbs up, then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to feed the public. I would say look up the, you know, rules and regulations and guidelines for serving food out of your home or renting out a kitchen. And the most important thing is just to start. You won't know until you start. You might not be great at first, but once you keep doing it, if it's something you really want to do, you'll learn and you get better along the way.
A question I have is, what dish do you think resonates with you more or either matches your personality?
That's a good question. A dish off my menu or any dish?
Any dish.
I would say like a combination platter. It would definitely be like arroz con gandules, some vegetables, probably a salad with avocado, some string beans and maduro, and I'm in between the jackfruit bernil or the jackfruit chicharron. And I feel like it's a lot of variety to it. It's different flavors, it's fun, it's colorful, it's good, it's delicious, it's warming. So I'll say that way.
I have another question. What do your friends and family think about your cooking?
They love it. They love it. And every year they want me to bring something, even though I'm tired, but they're like, what you bringing for Thanksgiving or Christmas or birthdays? And I don't mind doing it. So I'll bring them vegan options, and that's like the first option to go, which is so funny because a lot of them is not vegan, but they love the food, so that makes me happy. So I don't mind.
Well, we just wanted to thank you again for letting us, one, taste all your delicious food, because
Thank you.
it wasn't even half the menu, but we all enjoyed it, and for letting us interview you today.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thank you. You guys like the food?
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Does anyone else have any questions before we go? Did they get their questions in?
I have a question. If you had a magic wand and you could do, anything again, sometimes it's hindsight is 20/20, but what would you do differently?
I don't know, because I would say start sooner. I had the idea of Black Rican Vegan in 2016, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this now, and I didn't do it until 2020. But I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I could say I would like to start sooner, but I don't know how different it would have been back then. So for me to rethink of the idea or even just execute it in 2020 and the way it worked out for me is kind of a blessing. But yeah, maybe just start sooner and go to culinary school. I took some courses and stuff like that. I took some classes at home. I took a program, but I never went to an actual school. I never felt like I needed it, but I would just like to go just to learn more or do things differently, or I don't know, just have the experience. That's it.
Thank you.
I have a question. Can I get a question? All right, so you spoke about you wish you had started earlier. When was your earliest idea of at least becoming an entrepreneur? Was that as a child?
Oh yeah, that was as a child. Yeah, I was selling stickers at school. I was selling string, little candies, because my mom's boyfriend at the time, he used to work in a school. He would get bulk of stickers and stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take it to school. And I sold a sticker 25 cents each. I was selling string for $1 each. I was selling candy. So I always had that hustle and entrepreneur mentality in me since very young, and I think that's why entrepreneurship now is kind of a calling, because it's something that comes naturally. You gotta know people, you gotta know what they like, you gotta know how to sell, you gotta know how to promote yourself, you gotta know how to market. So yeah, I think that started when I was a young girl.
And what would be your piece of advice for each of the young people here today on how to go forward?
I mean, you guys are super intelligent. You you guys have like bright futures ahead of you. I can really see that. And I would just say if there's something you're passionate about, hone in on it. Find ways to make yourself super unique. Find ways to make yourself stand out. Embrace who you are as a person, because no one else could be you. And you'll go far with that mindset.
Thank you.
Would you say that you would make another cookbook? Like, do you have one like already planned out, or are you?
I'm working on it right now.
Anyone else? Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Of course.
And for the food.
You're welcome. Everyone's good?
Yes, thank you.